What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing. The Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series will continue its conversation with you regarding the complete history of boxing. I hope you're having a great time listening to these old boxing stories. It was a remarkable time when men will lace it up and find out who were the best. On November 6, 1906, a prime example, featherweight champion Abe Patel defeats Billy DeCarmi in 15 rounds in San Diego, California. He would defend his featherweight championship title, and that was some fight. Fans would not be disappointed, as they were looking forward to this fight. Two men would lace it up, throw hands, with mean intention. On November 28th of that year, heavyweight champion Tommy Bells would draw 20 rounds with light heavyweight champion Philadelphia Jack O'Brien. These two men would mix it up on two separate occasions, and they would put up a whale of a contest. On November 29th, welterweight champion Honey Boy Medley would stop Joe Walcott, the Barbados Demon, in 12 rounds at Chelsea, Massachusetts. He would become the welterweight champion of the world. On December 7th of 1906, featherweight champion Abe Patel would knock out Jimmy Walsh in 8 rounds. Now, I had to look it up. These two men would take place, their fights would take place in Los Angeles, California, but I had to look it up because I wasn't sure. So I looked up back BoxRec, and they had 9 rounds, and I looked up other sources that said 8 rounds knockout. It was scheduled for 20, so I'm not sure if it was 8 rounds or 9 rounds that Walsh would get out of there in the bout with Abe Patel. But both men were 23 years of age, and that was very interesting to me. December 9th, future welterweight champion Jim McLaurin was born. Now, Jimmy McLaurin would become the welterweight champion when he would knock out a southpaw by the name of Young Corbett III. I'll tell you a brief thing about Jimmy McLaurin, and we'll talk about his career as we get closer to his reign. But Jim McLaurin, known as the babyface assassin, he would end the career of Pancho Villa, and we'll talk about that as we talk about Pancho Villa's career. But he would mix it with Barney Ross on 3 separate occasions. As I stated, he would knock out Young Corbett III, who was a southpaw, in 1 round. He had multiple fights with great fighters. I mean, Canzanera, you name him, Lou Ambers. He had a short career, but it was packed with Hall of Famers. I met Jim McLaurin in the 90s, and he told me some stories, man. He was something else. Shout out to Jim McLaurin. We'll talk more about him as his reign will come up in conversation. On January 1st, 1907, lightweight champion Joe Gans knocks out Kid Herman in 8 rounds before a stunning crowd in Las Vegas, Nevada. He will remain the lightweight champion of the world. February 19th, colored heavyweight champion Jack Johnson knocks out cousin of Australian colored heavyweight champion, the Black Prince, Peter Jackson. His name was Peter Felix. He stopped him in 1 round. That reminded me of Michael Second to None, when he would drop the straight left hand on Sybil Colombe, and he would knock him out in 1 round. That was amazing. That was amazing. So I can only imagine what this contest was like, watching it in real time. March 4th, Jack Johnson knocks out Jim Lane, 9 rounds in Melbourne, Australia. April 22nd, lightweight contender Owen Moran defeats Al DeMonte, 20 rounds in London, England. He would win the vacant bantamweight championship title. Owen Moran never defended the title. He decided to campaign as a featherweight and lightweight in the championship division. But Owen Moran, don't let nobody kid you, very underrated in my eyes. Not to me. He was a phenomenal fighter. April 23rd, 1907, Mike Twin Sullivan defeats Honey Medley in 20 rounds. It was considered a title bout, although he didn't make weight. May 8th, 1907, World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Burns knocks out Philadelphia Jack O'Brien in 20 rounds in Los Angeles, California. That was their second bout and final bout between those two men. May 30th, Mike Shrek knocks out Marvin Hart in 21 rounds in Las Vegas, Nevada. July 4th, World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Burns knocks out Bill Squire 2 minutes and 9 seconds of the first round. This bout was scheduled for 45 rounds in Coma, California. July 4th, World Middleweight Champion, the Michigan Assassin Stanley Ketchel, defends his crown in 20 rounds against Joe Thomas with a draw. They fought in California. July 31st, lightweight Jimmy Britt defeats Battling Nelson in 20 rounds in San Francisco, California. September 2nd of 1907, middleweight Stanley Ketchel, floored in 27 rounds, badly battered, comes back to drop Joe Thomas 3 times before stopping him in the 32nd round. He will retain his middleweight championship crown. I'm going to pull out an article about this fight. Now, I just want to show I have every article on every fighter that I talked about and every fighter that I will be talking about in boxing history. Ketchel stars rise with 32 rounds KO of Joe Thomas. Let's go to another article. Ketchel-Thomas battle, the greatest, says Rochi. And I can go on and on and on. I have articles with every single fighter. I don't know, one day I'm thinking about opening up the books and just showing you an overview, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. Maybe I'll open up a private channel for certain subscribers that show up on my channel all the time. But, yeah. Here you have Joe Gans and Dale Hawkins in 2 great battles. Here you have, at the Broadway Athletic Club in New York, lightweight champion Frank Earn defeats Joe Gans. And that was their first fight. In the second fight, Joe Gans would knock out Earns in 1 round. I have one of the largest scrapbook boxing collections in the world. Every article basically in the world I have as far as championship fights. There's no question about it. Let's get back to the conversation. September 3rd, world lightweight champion Joe Gans stopped lightweight Jimmy Britt in 6 rounds in San Francisco, California. He will remain the champion. Now, what was incredible about Joe Gans? He was a remarkable puncher, and he's very underrated, in my opinion, with his punching power. September 7th, Jack Sullivan of Montana goes the full distance with Nate Dewey in a grueling middleweight championship contest that went the distance 45 rounds. The referee will call it a draw because he had enough. It began to rain. And Jack Sullivan, as I mentioned, had a twin brother by the name of Mike. Both of those fighters faced Stanley Ketchel back-to-back. And Sam Langford called out both Jack Twin Sullivan and Mike Twin Sullivan, said he would face them both on the same night, and they refused. He even offered something better. He said, winner take all to the first fighter that I defeat, and the second fighter that I defeat, I will get half back. And they still refused to face Sam Langford. Amazing. September 27th of 1907, the world lightweight champion defeats a young man by the name of George Masakin in 20 rounds, Los Angeles, California. And what was amazing about him, see, Abe Patel and all the small men at that time didn't mind mixing it up with any fighter that they put in front of them. That was a different breed of fighters in the lightweight division during those days. Well, I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff Series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Continue to watch The Complete History of Boxing. Thanks for watching. Peace.